Hi, this is Neil Fox, the creator of the Lucifer series, and this here is Debbie, but not really. From the back, this stock photo model, though, does remind me of Debbie doing her morning weekend thing on the beach around here. This isn't Debbie either, but you can do hatha yoga postures like this. Notice that this is all getting at her center here, but I think most of you will agree that this here is the easiest centering exercise she does. Now, if you try this, you'll see that you're more relaxed when you're coming from your gut instead of your head. The center of your body's gravity, above your abdomen. Any act of physical balancing of the human body revolves around this center. If you're in your head as you do what Debbie's doing, you'll see it's more of a strain to maintain the pose. But when your consciousness is centered where it should be, it's a lot more effortless to keep this up longer than you would otherwise, especially when you change feet and do it the other way around. Kumye, Tibetan yoga, is probably the most comprehensive way of centering all around. And I would suggest a person take a class in it if they're serious about getting real with centering. Of course, I'm happy to give you an idea of it here. Just take a deep breath from the gut with your arms out a little and then twist around as far as you can, straining from the center like so, as far as you possibly can. Very tense. Then exhale, but don't just exhale, let out all the gruck in you, all the bad stuff. Groan it out, the garbage inside you, the worry, the hate, the fear. And don't tell me you don't have any worry or fear in you, everyone does. Let it out, wail it out till your breath is spent. Then return standing like this from the center, with your arms the way they were. Twist around again and exhale again, letting out the bad stuff over and over. And soon enough, the tension and release of exhaling and inhaling is going to bring you into a much fuller experience of the center than you would normally have from just purely physical exercise. If you get this right and you got any aptitude for nowing, you're on your way. No stopping you. So once you've found your center, physically experienced it, I'd urge you to do the nowing exercise in Beelzebub Techniques 1. Do everything the same as always, but this time concentrate from the center with your eyes open, poised from your center. Take in your immediate senses and perceptions. Then upon shutting your eyes and allowing your imagination to break free, let go of your center. That's right, let go. Then open your eyes and recenter, okay? This letting go is vital. It's really, really very important. Consciously letting go of the center is just the flip side of centering and has a lot to do with Kundalini. Taking a class in Kundalini greatly facilitates a person's aptitude for banishment, telepathy, detachment, and from there wisdom and empathy in general. Usually martial arts people are too much about hanging with outward centering and overlook inwardly letting go. This is like inhaling without ever exhaling. Big, big mistake, and it will really trip you up when you try to take on Beelzebub, believe me. Know how to let go. Now, you'll see there's a difference between centered nowing and just regular nowing. If this is your first time doing this, the enhancement might even be dramatic, depending on how attenuated you are to it and how genuine the effort. You'll also see that it's easier to keep up with Beelzebub's tales to his grandson. Gurdjieff was a teacher of spiritual dancing, his own take on the dervish thing, and even though he never wrote about centering, he did instruct along those lines verbally with his students. Reading Beelzebub just about requires that you be centered the entire time you're sitting down to the book. And if you can't stay with the center, then let it alone until you can. People devoted to Beelzebub will center automatically by just reading passages. But this sort of person brings a lot of background to this. The book put me there when I first read it, but that's because I brought a lot to it. I can't promise a beginner that it will have this effect. Centering makes nowing more consistent and much easier to summon, and finally, after a good long while, you're going to be able to actually think lucidly as you're nowing, which is vital. Some people who do a lot of nowing can become airheads with it because thinking intrudes, and it takes all your concentration just to hang with the immediate present. So people who do this get to where they decide that thinking is a bad thing, when really it's just what you might call a tricky thing. Your ego shell considers thinking its little monopoly, and its identity is wrapped up in thinking, or rather in judgments and opinions and attitudes that amount to aggregates of thoughts knotted up in a bunch of mindless reflexes and root phobias. Which is why freeing up your head from a lot of the usual mental clutter is very important for a beginner. The first stage in a deconstruction that gets more multidimensional as you advance. So I'm not putting it down. But like a lot of things on the self-help circuit, this can go too far, and so many people never get to the next threshold with any of it. Nowing is so much a part of Eastern philosophy, a very, very ancient principle, that it's sometimes disappointing for me to see how pedestrian it can get in New Age circles. Anyway, to be able to think lucidly as you roll with the now is the essence of Beelzebub, to become the source of your thoughts, to excise them from the garbage that your ego's thinking process is always unconsciously trying to reinforce, the self-loathing, inferiority, insecurity, and the pathetic ways most egos go about trying to compensate and disguise their inner disfigurement. The ego's sense of separation from others and the environment can be said to be codified into a lot of reactive thinking that does have to be purged, which the ego shell fights because it feels it is being purged. And so begins your private little tug of war with yourself. Which does not have to be as grim as it sounds, and I'll get to that next time. And please don't think you know where all this is going. It's more than techniques. The techniques are just to prepare you for a realm of study where the terrain is nothing anybody can be expected to be able to anticipate.